Ever find yourself wondering, like, how your relationship with your parents got to be, well, where it is now, even though you're all grown up?
Yeah.
It's like, family's always got its ups and downs, right?
Yeah.
But today we're going deep on something really specific.
Okay.
Why do some people just carry this like resentment towards their parents, even as adults? Like, what's that all about?
Interesting.
So we found this excerpt, and doesn't really hold back.
Okay.
It talks about children, like, quote unquote, hating their parents, even after years of, love and support and all that.
Yeah.
And I know hate, that's a strong word,
Yeah.
but it gets you thinking, right? Like, what's really going on under the surface when someone feels that way?
Well, that strong language, it kind of hints at something that's actually pretty common, and it goes back to how our brains work.
Oh, okay.
Neuroscience research has actually shown that memories from when we're really little kids, especially the really emotional ones, they don't always stick around in our minds as adults in the same way. Like, we don't always have crystal clear memories of everything.
Ah, intriguing.
So all those sacrifices parents make when we're kids, like all that love, the care,
Yeah.
it might not be something that we remember as adults with the same kind of intensity as things that happened later on.
So, like, it's almost like we're judging a book by its ending.
Kind of, yeah.
Like those tough teenage years with all the arguments and the push for independence.
Yeah.
Those memories might be way more vivid than those earlier kind of fuzzier memories of just being taken care of.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Which is fascinating when you think about it, right?
It is.
Like how those dynamics actually develop over time. But so I'm curious, like, how does this whole recency bias, is that what it's called?
That's it, yeah.
How does that tendency to focus on what's recent, how does that affect how we see our parents as we grow up?
So that's where things get really, really interesting. Imagine you're just becoming an adult, right?
Okay.
You're figuring out who you are. You're craving all this independence.
Yeah.
And right then, at this super vulnerable time, your parents, the people who've always been there for you,
Right.
they start setting boundaries. They start pushing you to do things for yourself.
It's like that clash of what is it, developmental stages, right? Like, it seems like that happens at a really critical time. Like, it's tough timing for everyone. Oh, absolutely. And what's interesting? Even though most of the time those parents, they have good intentions.
Yeah.
They want their kids to be independent. That's part of growing up.
Right.
But it can feel kind of rough to those young adults, right?
Yeah.
Like, they might see it as uncaring, or even like they're being rejected even. And that's tough, right?
At a time when you're like, I don't know, I feel like everyone's felt that as a teenager at some point, where it's just like, you just don't get it.
Exactly, yeah.
It's like you need that support, but you're also trying to like push away from it.
Yeah.
But what about how the parents see all of this?
Oh, that's a good point.
Like, they have their own history, right?
You're absolutely right. Parents, they bring their own stuff to the table, their experiences of being parented, their worries about their kids. They're dealing with their kids growing up too, which is hard. Like, their kids need them less.
Right.
It's almost like a loss in a way, and that can lead to misunderstandings, communication breakdowns, all of that.
Yeah, it's messy.
Totally.
Like, all these different points of view and stuff that's not being said and expectations that nobody's talking about. It's rarely just straight up hate, is it?
No, it's more like all these missed connections and changing needs on both sides.
Exactly.
And that's why it's so important to try to understand each other and to talk openly and honestly. Like, maybe after hearing this, you start to think about things a bit differently in your own family.
Yeah, for sure.
Have you noticed any of these patterns playing out?
Yeah.
Could it be that some things are being misinterpreted? Those are good questions to ask yourself. Such a good point to end on, because this whole conversation, it really got me thinking. Like, we've talked about the child's experience and the brain science behind it all, and even how the parents might be feeling. But what about their memories? Like, how does the way they were raised actually affect how they are as parents?
Oh, interesting.
That's a whole other layer to this, right?
Yeah.
Like, something to really think about as we try to figure out our own family relationships.
Definitely.
Lots to think about.